Hello again and welcome back to the channel. This is Michael from TOEFLresources.com, and today I want to talk about TOEFL Speaking Question 1, also known as the personal choice question. Now, yes, this video has been updated to reflect all of the changes to the TOEFL that started in August of 2019. So let's get started. In today's video, I'm going to start by talking about the current question styles in this part of the test. It's not enough just to know that this is the personal choice question, but you need to know what the question actually looks like on test day. And that's what I'll tell you first. After that, I will walk you through a few recent TOEFL questions that have appeared on the real test. I'll give you a universal template you can use to answer all of them. I'll give you 3 complete sample answers, and at the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit about how your score is actually determined. So, first up, the modern question styles. Now, I did a survey of about 600 students who have taken the test since August, and this is what they told me. They said that the most frequent question style is the agree-disagree style. About 50% of them got one that looked like that. 30% of the students got a preference style question, and 20% of the students got a fairly new style, which I'm calling now the good idea style. I'm going to give you examples of each of these in just a moment, but I think we should talk a little bit about the so-called dead question styles. According to my surveys, no students are getting multiple choice style questions. That is where you pick from 3 or 4 options. Nobody's getting giving advice style questions where you have to talk about what advice you would give to a friend who's in a certain situation. And most importantly, nobody seems to be getting advantages, disadvantages style questions. That's very interesting. Now, ETS is pretty darn tricky. I am 100% sure that they will bring these back at some point in the future. And for that reason, I'm going to link to last year's video, which talks a little bit about these styles. That said, for the time being, it looks like you should mostly focus on these 3 styles. If you happen to get information that contradicts what I'm saying here, please leave a comment down below. All right, talking about these question styles. As I said, the most common is the agree-disagree style. Questions go a little bit like this. State whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. Then explain your reasons using specific details in your argument. It is important for students to be friends with their teachers outside of their classes. Now, I won't read the next one, but it's basically the same thing. You're getting a single sentence statement, and you are asked whether you agree or disagree with it. That's pretty straightforward. I think this might be the easiest style. The only other thing I want to draw your attention to are the topics of the questions. The first one is about a topic related to education. And the second one is about personal development, but also education. So these are 2 of the most common themes or topics that ETS uses in this part of the test. Be prepared for one of those. Next up is the preference style question. It goes like this. Some people like to shop at stores that sell many different types of products, while others like to shop at stores that specialize in a single type of product. Which do you prefer? Include details and examples to support your explanation. So again, you're given 2 options and you have to pick one. Usually these options are like opposites or kind of mutually exclusive. They're not just 2 random options. They are closely related to each other, like in the examples you see on the screen. And again, pay attention to the subject matter here. The first one's dealing with everyday life and the choices you make in your regular life. And the second one is again related to education and academic studies. These are 2 very common subjects that ETS loves to use in this part of the test. Lastly, we have the good idea style question, and this one is somewhat new. You might not see it in a lot of books and websites. The example goes like this. Some companies have rules that forbid employees from using personal cell phones during working hours. Do you think this is a good idea? Why or why not? Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. So you're given some kind of situation or scenario or idea, and you're asked whether you think it's a good idea or not. And again, this one is a very common subject. It relates to workplace and workplace life. Very common on the TOEFL. Now the last one I'm going to read because ETS used something very similar to this on the real test a few weeks ago, and it actually surprised me because it's a bit controversial. Usually ETS doesn't like controversy. Maybe that's changing. The question went like this. Nowadays, some people use extreme methods, including surgery, to change their appearance. They do this because they want to look more attractive. Do you think this is a good idea? Support your answer with details and examples. Again, I was really surprised by that, but I had a bunch of students tell me there was a question about plastic surgery on the test. Go figure. It's actually kind of fun, isn't it? All right, those are the three main styles that are used nowadays. Let's talk about how to answer them with a basic, simple template. It has 3 parts. First of all, state your main point. Say something like, I agree with the idea that teachers should be very good friends with their students. Or something like, I think it is better to shop at specialized stores. Or I think it is a great idea to get plastic surgery to make yourself look wonderful. Then give me a basic transition. I feel this way for 2 reasons. If you're a slow speaker, you can cut out the transition. It's not essential. And then simply support your point with 2 main reasons. First, give me the reason, then say, for example, and give me more details. And then say, second, and give me the reason. Then say, to be more specific, and give me more details. You don't need a conclusion. It's a waste of time. Don't even bother. Unless you have a little bit of time to kill at the end. Then I suppose it's okay. Basically, this is your template. It works for all 3 question styles. And for the record, it should work for all the dead question styles as well, except maybe the advantages, disadvantages question. So check out the old video just in case you get one of those. Now, let's put this template to use, but first of all, a few general tips and tricks that will help bring your answer to the next level. First of all, vary your vocabulary as much as possible. Don't repeat words. Next, I want to hear discourse phrases like as a result or consequently or moreover or therefore. I'll give you a few more of those in the samples. Use a mix of both simple and compound sentences. If you don't know what that means, look it up. This is not your grammar lesson. You need to know what a simple sentence is. You need to know what a compound sentence is. You need to use both of them in your answers. Next, include a very concise opening line. Don't waste time with some bullshit like, that's a very interesting question. I haven't thought about that one in a long time, but if I had to choose, I would say that teachers should be friends with their students. Can you hear how much time I wasted there? Don't do that. Next, don't copy the prompt word for word. Some people like to begin with something like, some people believe that it is a good idea for teachers to be very close friends with their students outside of classes. However, I think, that's just copying the prompt and it's also a waste of time. Don't do it. Lastly, I want you to use efficient vocabulary. This means that it's better to express your ideas with 1 or 2 really descriptive and useful words rather than 5 or 6 really long and unclear words. This will actually impress the graders and it will leave you with more time to include good details and examples when you support your answer. All right, the first sample question we're going to deal with today is an agree-disagree style. This is new, so I'll read it. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Children should help their parents with household chores as soon as they are old enough. Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. Let's see what we did. I'm going to read this one. I promise this is the last question I'm going to read in entirety in the video. I know some people hate it when my videos get long, so I won't read the next samples, but I will put them on the screen. First of all, I start with my main point. I agree with the idea that kids should help with housework right away. And then I use the transition. I feel this way for several reasons. First, doing household tasks teaches children really valuable skills. For example, I was required to prepare breakfast for my little brother every day before school. So when I grew up and moved away to attend college, it was really easy to prepare healthy meals for myself. As a result, I have always been in great shape both physically and mentally. Then I do my second reason. Second, family members can bond when they share responsibilities. To be more specific, young people are sometimes shy, but if they spend a lot of time with their parents doing chores, they might open up a bit. Accordingly, they will be more likely to discuss their feelings. So what did I do here? Well, first of all, I use the template. Template's simple, the template's easy, but it works. Next, I paraphrased the prompt. I think the prompt referred to household chores. I changed that to housework. And over here, I changed it to household tasks. I want to vary my vocabulary, and I want to paraphrase the prompt when possible. Next up, I'm using conjunctions like so and but. These are used to create compound sentences. So I have a mix of simple sentences like this one here and compound sentences like this one here. That shows off my grammatical finesse and my ability. I'm also using transitional phrases like as a result and accordingly. The graders want these. They want to hear those. And the SpeechRater, which is new and I'm going to talk about in a minute, it is also looking for those. What else did I do here? Well, note that my first reason has a personal example from my life, but my second reason does not have a personal example. That's my general advice to students. I don't think you have enough time to come up with personal examples for both reasons. So just stick an example in the first reason, and then in the second reason, stick with details and explanations of what you mean. I think that's the best use of your time. The last thing I'm going to draw your attention to is how I ended each of the reasons. Here I talked sort of about like cause and effect. I talked about the long-term result of the example I just mentioned. So here I talked about how I prepared breakfast, I went away to college, and then as a result, I have always been, like for my whole life, in great shape, both physically and mentally. Likewise, in the second reason, I talked about how children might talk to their parents, and then I talked about the end result, the more long-term result, which is they will be more likely to discuss their feelings. I think that's a great way to finish a reason because it strengthens your argument, and it also provides a really easy way to use some of these valuable discourse phrases, like as a result or accordingly. It's not essential, it's not mandatory, but it is something you should keep in mind when you're practicing for the test. Next up is the preference style question. You can pause the screen if you want to read the question again, but it's just the one about shopping at different types of stores. And I have a sample answer, which, as I said, I am not going to read. You can pause the screen if you really want to read it out yourself. Again, I'm doing pretty much the same thing as in the first sample. I've adjusted the main point a little bit, but otherwise the template is exactly the same. Likewise, I'm using conjunctions like so and but to create compound sentences to increase my score. And the other thing I wanted to mention here is that I'm trying a little bit to use advanced vocabulary. So I'm using a comprehensive. When I made the first version of this sample, I think I just said deep or maybe like meaningful. I don't know, an easy word. I changed it to comprehensive. Now, I don't want you to go crazy and use really obscure and really difficult words, but I do want you to kind of bring your vocabulary up to maybe the next level of what you use in everyday conversation. Don't kind of hurt yourself by using really complicated and difficult words, but just kind of try to kind of bring yourself up to a higher level. That is something that the grader is looking for, and the SpeechRater automated scoring technology is also looking for slightly more advanced words than we use in everyday conversation. Otherwise, again, I used some transitions, I guess, according to him, and I used and as a result. And once again, my first reason has a personal example and it's a bit longer. My second reason does not have a personal example and it's a bit shorter. Otherwise, it's the same technique as the first style. The last sample is the good idea type, and we're going to deal with the one about cell phones today. I don't want to touch that kind of plastic surgery question in a video because that could lead to some nasty comments in the comment section down below, I think. But anyways, there's your sample. And again, it's pretty much the same. There's not much I need to say about it. Just pause the screen if you want to check it out. I'm using the same template. I just changed the main point a little bit. I've got my transitions like as a result. I've got my compound sentences. And I guess that's about it. I mean, the other thing to keep in mind, I suppose, is to use a variety of verb tenses. It's really easy to just kind of use the simple present tense or like the simple past tense in these exclusively. So if you check out all my samples, you see that I kind of use the simple present tense. I use the past tense, but I also like to use the perfect tenses. The present perfect is a good one to use as well. Keep that in mind, a variety of verb tenses. Got to bring your answer again to the next level. All right, that's all I really have to say about how to answer these questions. You use the template, kind of use those tips and tricks I gave you, and hopefully it will make your job a little bit easier. But before I finish the video, let's talk a little bit about how you are graded, because this has also changed since August. First of all, one human is going to score your delivery, your language use, and your topic development. This is the same as before, and they are still using the same rubrics, which I will link to down below when they're determining your score. But basically, you've got these three categories. First of all, they've got delivery. And so here they're judging your accent and your pronunciation and how you stress words and use intonation and your overall comprehensibility. Can they actually understand what you're saying, or do they have to use what they call extra effort to understand you? Next up, they will judge you on your language use. This means basically, is your grammar correct? And is your vocabulary correct and at a decent level? Lastly, topic development. This is your answer actually on topic? Is your argument fairly strong and well supported? And are you kind of using those discourse phrases to connect ideas? That's very important. But that's how it's been since like 2006. But now in 2019, there is the SpeechRater. This is new. Yes, this is a software grading system. Part of your score is going to come from the human, but part is going to come from the software. And I do need to mention that they have equal value. So the software is just as important as the human when it comes to your score. Now, a lot of students have asked me, well, how does the SpeechRater determine a score? Well, I'll make a separate video about that, and it will be an hour long. But right now I'm going to keep it really brief and say that the SpeechRater is judging you based on 4 main criteria. You got fluency, you got pronunciation and rhythm, you got grammar, and you got vocabulary. What does this mean though? Well, fluency refers to how much silence you have in your answer. So if you've got a lot of empty spots in your answer, you're going to lose points with the SpeechRater. It's also judging you based on repetition. So if you repeat things, you're going to lose points. Now, the most obvious repetition is something like, well, I think that teachers should be friends. So you'll get a penalty for that I think. And you're also going to get a penalty for the and the ah and the type pauses that you might be making. So that's, generally speaking, your fluency. Over in pronunciation and rhythm, that's pretty obvious. It has to do with your accent, your pitch, your syllable stresses, and specifically how well you pronounce both vowels and consonants. That's pretty obvious. If you're clear, if the SpeechRater can understand you, you're going to get a higher score. Next up is your grammar. Again, most importantly is how correct your grammar is. But it's also, again, looking specifically for a variety of grammatical structures. So that's what I meant when I talked about conjunctions and creating compound sentences and a variety of verb tenses. It's looking for those. It can detect them, so you better include them. Lastly is vocabulary. Most importantly, are you using correct vocabulary? And are you using vocabulary that reaches a certain level? Now, I believe that ETS is actually going to compare your vocabulary to a collection of words. So if you're only using the most common words in their collection, your score might go down. So it is challenging you to use slightly more advanced vocabulary. But again, don't go crazy. Don't hurt yourself. Just try to bring yourself to the next level. All right, that's all I have to say about TOEFL Speaking Question 1. If you have any questions, though, leave a comment down below. I will try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you want to know more about what I do every day, check out my website at TOEFLresources.com. At the site, you'll find guides to every section of the test. And most importantly, you can sign up to have your speaking answers and your practice essays scored, graded, and corrected by me. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, but come by next week when I should have a new video about TOEFL Speaking Question 2. Take care until then, guys. I'll see you later.